And welcome everybody. Camille and I are uh, calling in live from Punta Mita, the Four Seasons Resort in Mexico. We've never been here before, so we've kind of fallen in love with this place, and pretty amazing. I think probably many of you have likely been here. I think we may be coming back at some point. It's a pretty nice resort. But thank you for attending today, and I'm going to be spending most of my time today just sort of talking about the 1 year anniversary of the pandemic, and more specifically about some of the things that happened on the week of beginning on the week of March 11th, which was a little over a week ago. And that, of course, was the day that we had the World Health Organization announce that it was officially a pandemic. And this slide here is actually the minutes from the meeting, the media briefing, when the director of WHO announced that we were officially in a pandemic. On that same day, the Utah Jazz player Rudy Gobert tested positive for the virus, and that same day, the NBA decided to suspend the season. And then on that same day, President Trump banned European travel to the U.S. and sort of started the whole thing as to what was really happening to us the last year. On the weekend of March 13th, 14th, and 15th, Camille and our son Josh and myself hunkered down in our home for almost 3 days and really went through the reality of what was happening and developed a plan on how we were going to respond to make sure that we could not only survive this thing, but also, do it in a way that was as compassionate as possible at the same time. On Monday morning, the 16th, we had a 7 a.m. meeting with our entire executive team and announced to them some very significant things that we were going to do to get through this thing. And then on March 17th, that was probably the worst day of my life. It was actually the best day of my life as well. It was the day that my wife agreed to marry me many years ago. It was our anniversary, engagement anniversary, March 17th. St. Patrick's Day, engagement anniversary, and the day that we had to let go of a lot of people and make a lot of really sad announcements about how we were going to migrate through this thing. And as you can see from my schedule here today, I was a full day of sort of ugliness. But the next morning, I went into the office had a lot on my mind, what I had just done and how we were going to get through this thing. And I went into my office at super early the next day to just sort of get my head around what was happening. And one of the things that I decided to do was Delta Airlines had been negotiating with us to try to reduce our commission program. They decided they were paying us too much and wanted to cut it back. And so at 6:59 a.m. on the morning of the 18th, Wednesday the 18th, I sent an email to some of the senior executives at Delta Airlines telling them that I really thought that that during this pandemic, it was a bad time for them to mess with our airline commissions, and sent them an email recommending that they reconsider that and just leave things the way they were. And 10 minutes later, this happened. At 7:09 a.m. on the 18th, the largest earthquake that had ever hit Salt Lake City hit our city. And I was on the third floor of our office building and felt the office building swaying and rumbling and knew that something was happening. And it was exactly 10 minutes after I'd sent that email to Delta Airlines. And within probably an hour, I had an email back from Delta Airlines saying everything's on hold. We're going to leave everything just the way it is and nothing to worry about. And how are you doing with that earthquake that just hit your city? And it was just a lucky fluke that I happened to send it out at that time, and it turned out to be a good fluke. I then sent a letter to all of our clients, and this letter shows that it's going to me, and that's because this is actually a screenshot from an email that I received from myself, because we had, I was on the mailing list that it went out to. It went out to everybody internally and went out to all of the Christofferson clients internally and externally, and I talked about. You know, the fact that we were going to make some adjustments, but that we would still be, we were still alive and well, and everything was going to be operational and so forth. The next day, on the 19th, we hit the front page news of the company dime, and they printed an article. They had gotten a copy of the email that I had sent to our business travel clients. They also had read some email, social media posts from from a couple of ex-employees that weren't exactly accurate, but that were, sort of interesting. And then they published this article. Jay Campbell, who was the editor and founder of the company Dime, published this article that we had cut our company in half. And everything I just described, from the meeting on the 17th to the earthquake on the 18th to the letter to the clients to the newsletter in the business travel publication, the company Dime, all that happened within 3 days. It was a wild 3 days. And then I sent this on the next day, or actually about a week later, I sent this news. This is a copy of the newsletter that went out to our employees, announcing, what we had done and what we were doing and how we were thinking about things. And I want to just, because it was, this was sent out on April 1st, which is coming up next week, and I wanted to just sort of share maybe a few thoughts that I talked about in this internal newsletter. The first was that I had suggested that the things that took place were going to create an upheaval rather for our entire society. I talked about the fact that our family was devastated, that we had to make some things that were, do some things, which included closing some offices and letting about half of our team go, and either by, layoffs or furloughs. And that we were focusing on these three things to protect the health of our employees. We did that. We got all of our employees home and away from the working environments, so that they were safe in their homes. We got all of the computers sent home, and all of the things that we needed to do so that people could function for their homes. Most of you were already working from home, because as independent contractors, you were already used to that and were set up in a way that already worked for you. Those that weren't, we took care of getting you moved home and getting you set up. I talked about the fact that we were going to approach this as compassionately as possible and protect as many jobs as possible for now and in the future. And of course, number 3 was that we would protect the long-term viability of the company. And of course, I mentioned in the article, or in the newsletter rather, that the number 3 was related to number 2, that we had to make sure that we were going to be here. And and then I said some other things about the fact that my guess was that the coming months and days would be challenging for humankind. Boy, did we had no idea how true that would become, right? I mean, it became a lot worse than anybody expected, a lot longer, a lot deeper. There was no one that predicted that a year from now we'd still be down, 75 or 80% in business travel bookings with all of our brands, including the Andavo brand. And no one could have protected that. But looking back on it, it was probably good that we had moved swiftly and decisively and quickly and did all the things we did, because we're still here and made it through this. Now, enough about a year ago. That's the end of that terrible week. But I thought it would be appropriate to reflect upon it, because it is the 1-year anniversary, and we did make it for a year, which is great. We're going to make it beyond now. So I thought it would be appropriate to at least reflect upon it. And then I'm not going to talk anything about the next year. I think it's, enough has been said about that. And I will fast forward now to some good news. And this is an article that was written a couple of weeks ago. I actually watched the interview. So this is the text of an interview that was done. A guy by the name of Jim Cramer, who is a one of the hosts of on CNBC in the mornings, and he predicted about 2 weeks ago that the post-COVID travel boom could be the sky's the limit, and investors aren't ready for it. And he was saying this in a positive way. He thought that he was forecasting that things would be a lot better than the investors were giving the market credit for. And so at the time, he was making a case to investors to invest in cruise lines and airlines and tour operators, anybody that's publicly held and traded on the stock market. He was making a case that you would likely not have this opportunity again to make these sorts of investments, and that they would become good investments. Last week rather, 3 airlines, Delta, United, and Alaska, all the CEOs of all 3 airlines in the same week, really within a couple of days, predicted that they would be at a break-even, a cash flow break-even, as early as next month as this travel recovery picks up. So that was a very positive news to hear 3 airline CEOs say that. And then this was another follow-up article that that came out last week, last Monday, as a matter of fact, and they talk about air travel jumping as vaccinations spur bookings and stocks surge. Camille and I are here in Punta Mita specifically because of our vaccines. We got our second vaccine last Wednesday, and decided that we'd give it a 2-day waiting period to find out whether or not we were going to get sick, because we had heard a lot and read a lot about that. Turns out we didn't get sick at all. Hardly had any effect at all from the first or second shot. Didn't hardly even notice that anything had been done. And we wanted to give it 2 days to be safe, and then go somewhere fun and out of the country and sort of celebrate a combination of becoming fully vaccinated and also surviving a full year of this pandemic, both health-wise and with our business. So good news, good news all the way around, that we are where we are. I want to also say that the 4 divisions that we have, the CV Humanitarian and AMI, Andavo Meetings and Incentives, and Andavo Travel and Christofferson Business Travel, that the leisure travel, Andavo Travel division is coming back faster than the other 3 divisions. So kudos to all of you. It is our fastest recovering division. The 2 slowest recovering are the humanitarian division and the meetings and incentives divisions. They're coming back a little bit slower, and Andavo, the leisure travel, is coming back the fastest. So that is very good news. And I want to show you some actual slides. This one's an interesting one. This is a slide that shows our daily sales last year compared to this year. And the light blue is last year, the dark blue is this year, 2021 compared to 2020. So last week, or the week before last, actually, the 11th and 12th, you can see those last 2 days. We, for the first time, this year's sales passed last year's sales on a daily basis. Now, that's not very impressive, to be honest with you, because it was the first 2 days of the pandemic and everything was pretty much shut down to zero. I think most of those tickets that we issued on those 2 days were simply ticket exchanges where people were canceling trips and issuing tickets to be booked for a future date. And so not very impressive, but it's still an interesting point that we got to the point where we were doing more, better than a year ago. And we'll continue to do that from here on out. My guess is that this will be the case for permanently, that we'll never have a week where we don't do better this year than we did last year. And hopefully we'll all soon get to where we were in 2019. The next slides I'm going to show you are at the company level, for all of the divisions combined, just to sort of keep it simple. And these are the daily, or rather the weekly airline tickets issued for the entire week during the entire pandemic. So this goes from April 5th through March 13th. And I mean, you can see the trend, right? Since the beginning of the year, this here is Thanksgiving week. This here is the month of December, of course, and Christmas. Christmas, New Year's week here, where things just drop completely off. And then this is the first week of January, and we've had a nice steady increase since the beginning of the year in airline tickets. The sales tell the same story, same thing, April 5th through March 13th, and same story. We're down, down in the dark days of the first week of April. Nice steady increase, down over the holidays and then back up since the year ended. This here, I should mention, these 2 days were abnormally better than the others because of a couple of big groups that we issued the airline tickets on. So the airline tickets are there. By the way, it has come down more in line with where we were after the last 2 weeks, and more along the trend line. Same thing here. These 2 days here were too big. This third day actually is some big leisure sales that were made. And then these 2 days were some big airline tickets that were issued for groups for those 2 days. I want to show you just in general how we did in February compared to January. Our sales were up on an average on a daily basis. Sales in February were up 4% per day as compared to the daily sales rate in January. And the ticketing was up 13% in February as compared to the the daily rate in January. These numbers don't reflect those 2 big groups that were issued in March, which increased the sales even more. How are we doing on airline tickets compared to our peers? Same story. The top line is the leisure, or is rather the online sales. So that's Priceline and Expedia. The middle tier are the leisure travel agencies, which is where Andavo is primarily located. And as you can see, the leisure sales are starting to increase more rapidly than the corporate sales. And the bottom one is where the Christofferson brand sits, and it's still sitting pretty flat for the last 3 weeks, and really not up much even since the beginning of the year. If you look at January and February, we were running down about 85%, and then the last 3 weeks it was down about 83%. So it went up a little bit, but much of the increase in our sales, this is a different story than this story here, and the reason is mostly because of the Andavo bookings are coming in a little bit stronger than the other brands. So that's why the sales as our company are doing a little bit better. Enough about charts and maps and all of that. Let me just turn that off now and no, turn it off and go back to. Can you see my screen right now?
We still see the graph by the different.
Well, why is that? I thought I turned it off. Okay, I don't know why I'm not turning it off, but we will just leave that there. So what's happening? Let's talk about the future, and how I'm thinking about the future. I will tell you that there have been some really good green shoots in the last number of weeks, where we've really seen some positive things happen. One of them is our university athletic travel has come back. That's probably a fairly big part of why the Christofferson brand has improved a little bit this year over last year. Or this year over, the end of last year. The other thing that we're seeing is, I talked about this, we actually had 3 groups that we ticketed. One for in the recent couple of weeks. One was for the CV Humanitarian brand, one was for the AMI brand, and then the big group was a big group of folks going to Maui on the Christofferson side. So that was good. The AMI brand has seen a lot more meetings booked for the fall, which is positive and good news. And then of course the luxury travel is coming back. I think that which is big news for all of you. I think that Kirsten told me that we have had, and I actually have seen the numbers myself as well. I think we've had 7 of you in the past couple of weeks that have booked packages in excess of $100,000. big, big family type packages that, you know, that were significant, and seen a lot of bookings on the leisure side, which is great. I mean, our trip was not $100,000 trip, but it was booked by one of you, and Sheila Farley booked us here to the Four Seasons. And I think there's a lot of people that are feeling like we are. They're getting their vaccines and starting to think optimistic about the future and thinking about, moving on to, back into travel. So that is good. The other thing that is positive is that, in addition to that, we're still in business, is that our cash reserves are still adequate to get through this thing. I mean, we're still not through it yet, right? And even a lot of these bookings that all of you are doing and some of the other brands are doing are for future travel. And because of the nature of the business we're in, the commissions follow travel most of the time. Maybe we may get some service fees at the time of ticketing, but all of the commissions on the tours and the cruises and the air and the car and the hotel, most of those follow, or at least the car and the hotel, those follow the travel dates. And I know a lot of you are booking travel for a little bit further out, and so we're not through this yet, but we do have enough liquidity to get through this. We're in good shape that way, and feel very optimistic about the future. So I think we're in a good place, and glad to be here and glad to see things finally starting to loosen up, and particularly on the leisure side and on the luxury travel side, seeing all of you issue some, do some bookings. So with that, I will open it up for Q&A. And while I'm doing that, I'm going to try one more time to get this chart off the, do not know why it's.
And so you guys feel free to either unmute your lines and join the conversation, or type in the chat whichever way you want to do it.
And I'm going to
just quickly, Mike, I clicked on your name on your picture and the graph went away. So if somebody wants to get rid of it, try that.
Oh, awesome. And then if you're going to do that, then I am going to do something else, and that is close the PowerPoint, so at least you won't be looking at that. What are you looking at now?
Well, I clicked on your name, so now I am viewing the windows of anybody that's sharing their screens.
And I am going to, that is so strange that, oh, I just figured it out. Okay, I'm back. Wow.
Yeah, I have been seeing a lot of feedback from you guys that you're getting more and more interest in travel and having a lot more requests.
Yeah, I'd like to hear about that, just from any of you, really. Just, I mean, are you seeing what we're seeing at a higher level, that people are getting vaccinated and starting to think about travel again? Are you starting to hear from clients you hadn't heard from as much?
Well, I think everybody is anxious to travel, and people keep calling, but I think everybody's a little gun shy because borders keep opening, borders keep closing. It's just hard to know. So I think, unfortunately, everything has to be last minute to make sure that it's going. But Europe is in a mess right now, so it's just hard to know.
What is by the way, this is a personal question because we're curious. What is the rule on getting a negative COVID test so that you can get back into the United States? It said 3 days. Do they measure the time that you got your test from the time your flight leaves exactly? So it's got to be 72 hours?
Yes. So you need to allow a little wiggle room. So when the hotel is scheduling it for you, make sure it's like 5 or 6 hours in case your flight's delayed. And there, I think you get it back in 24 hours. So I'm recommending all my people that are gone to get it as soon as you can, but so that you test negative so you can get back. But make sure you allow at least 4 or 5 hours for flight delays.
So we got our test at 10 a.m. this morning, and we did test negative. They got the results back within 2 hours.
Right.
Right to our hotel room and did it. Got us our results back quickly.
Right.
So when is the latest that we can come home?
10 a.m. What's today, Monday?
Yeah.
10 a.m. Thursday, or you have to have another test.
Awesome. So maybe we may stay an extra day then.
I
'Cause we're
know.
supposed to
Look
come
at
back
me.
tomorrow.
I've been here since December. Oh, God.
Yeah, well, thank you for that. I think we may stay if we can stay here an extra day. And
Well, haven't you found they're very efficient with testing? And I mean, I think
Oh, yeah.
once people get over the fear, I think everybody's doing a great job. You just, if the CDC would just shut up, we'd be a lot better off.
I agree. I agree.
And I might give some thoughts also.
Sure.
Go ahead.
I just took 3 trips, one to Baja, then another one to Azores and Costa Rica. And come back to the US, they never really checked for the test.
To get the test?
They didn't even check it. We had them because we had to. And actually 2 of them I did with my family, and it never got checked.
Wow.
Just so you guys know. So it's, obviously we can't plan on that with our clients, but it's very loosey-goosey. And then we came in at different airports, New York, Houston, and Atlanta. And none of the 3 checked.
Wow.
But
When I came
have
back
a question.
When I came back from British Virgin Islands, they did check. I had multiple people that checked.
Now, did they
It's
check?
interesting.
Did they check at your airport of departure? Did the airline check to let you on that plane with your negative test?
They checked
did.
at the ticket counter for
Right.
me.
Yeah, they do the ticket counter.
Right.
But
So
even then, they're looking at the time for them, not when you land in the country.
no, you don't need, it needs to be your time of departure. But I think the US is totally screwed up because even in the height of COVID, they were never checking anything. But I think they're depending on the airlines to not board you if you don't have the test. It has been my understanding that
Yep.
that the airlines will not board you if you don't have the correct test in hand.
Hey Jan, this is Danielle Rocket.
Yeah.
I'm heading to Kona, as you know.
Right.
Hope I get to see you, but I'll be there in a few weeks. And did I read that I'll be doing a COVID test when I arrive into Kona?
Yep. Well, yes, but let me tell you, I know somebody that had a COVID test at Stanford University and one from the Mayo Clinic, 2 of the best hospitals in the world. And because they were not on the approved list for the state of Hawaii, they landed, they said, sorry, we have very bad news. They drove them to a hotel. They stayed in the hotel overnight and they shipped them home. So people have to take the test from one of the approved testers. And Kona is giving a second test on arrival, but Ige said he's no longer going to have the state pay for it. So I doubt that the state of Hawaii is going to continue to be funding it. So it may stop soon, I hope. But right now, they're giving you a test on arrival. And make sure you upload all of your documents to the airline's website, because we had our kids came over and they brought friends, and one of them was on United and had that program where they give you a wristband. And when you got off the plane, you went right to the COVID test line. The others came in on American from LA. They didn't have it. They were 2 hours in the line to get their documents checked again, and then 45 minutes in the COVID test line. So it's not for the faint of heart coming here, that's for sure.
Good info. I know I did see where I can do this and upload it to the Hawaii State site and the Alaska Airlines site, but then I just read that they were still requiring it upon arrival as well. So
correct, but they pay for that, and it's pretty fast. Yeah.
Great, thanks, Jan.
Mm-hmm.
In answer to your question about the Four Seasons Punta Mita, they have a maximum, or the question about the occupancy, they have a maximum allowed occupancy here because of the state, or because of Mexico. At 50%, they're not allowed to book more than 50% occupancy. And this week they're bumping up around 45 for the first time. We met with the sales manager when we first got here, and she said that it was the 50% maximum hadn't been a problem at all because they hadn't even gotten close to it until this past week or 10 days or so, and they were running in the mid 45s, and so they were pretty happy about that people were starting to show up. But it's at 50%, it's easy to get a place at the pool, and the restaurants are easy to get, reservations. There's not a lot of people here, but there's enough that it feels, active and like, you're not just here alone as the only ones that were dumb enough to come or something. There's enough people here that you feel good about being here with everyone else.
Hi, guys.
Hi, Camille.
Yes, it's good to get out.
Yeah.
It feels so good to get out and actually travel somewhere nice. And this is a great property for anyone that hasn't been here. Very impressed. You guys probably already all know this, but it's owned by Bill Gates. I didn't know that. I was curious about it, and he bought the property about 5 years ago and put a lot of money into renovating it, and it's pretty nice. Let's see what other questions. Anybody else have any questions? I learned that the occupancy maximums in Mexico are counted over the entire month of a hotel's bookings, not per day. So a weekend can be like 75%. That's interesting. Thank you, Jay, for clarifying that.
And average it out.
We're gonna meet with the GM and the sales manager after we finish up with you. So we'll get more information about that and how they're doing, and maybe even extend another day. It's so nice here. So I may be calling in our early morning meeting, Kirsten, from here.
That would be great.
See what it's like on the rates and availability and so forth. But it's a great place. Allie wants me to write a blog. Oh boy, that means I should have taken some photos, right? I'm terrible at taking photos.
It's not too late, Mike. You still can.
I think I think any good travel agency owner would do that, right? That would be a smart thing to do, and I've never done it. I should do it. Thank you for recommending it. Well, thank you all. Thank you all for being here.
Don't overexert yourself. I said don't overexert yourself pushing the camera photo button.
Yeah, I need to take some pictures to go along with the blog. Yeah, thank you, Josh, for pointing that out. I did take one from my deck and sent it to my family the other night. Took a nice one from the deck at night with the evening sun barely showing through.
Looks like 50% of the blog pictures are already taken.
There you go.
Yes, there we go. Exactly.
Yeah. Hey, well, thank you guys, and sincerely thank you guys for hanging in there with us for this past year. It has been a wild and crazy year, and we're just, Camille and I are just grateful that we've all survived and that we're still here, and looking forward to bigger and better things for 2021 and beyond. So thank you. I'll log off, and have a great day.
Enjoy the rest of your time at Punta Mita, Mike and Camille.
Oh, by the way, I do have some other news, some other really important news. Josh, who's on the phone with us, had a baby 3.5 months ago, 3.5 months early, or 3 months early. He weighed 2 pounds, little Noah, he weighed 2 pounds, 3 ounces. And he came home last week actually. So good news. Noah came home after being in the hospital for 3.5 months. So
awesome news.
Lots of good things happening. So
they were so excited about it that they deserted him and left for Mexico.
They did take time to come and meet him before they left to go out of town.
They did. They spent a lot of time with him beforehand. They'll get plenty more.
Josh's wife is a dentist, and she had to go back to work her first day when Noah came home, and Camille got to be with him for the whole day. Actually, I got to spend some time with him as well. So he's a pretty good little guy. Thank you all. Have a great day, and look forward to checking in with you again next month.
Great. Thank you, Mike and Camille.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Josh, did you have any updates? Oh, we may have lost Josh too. I'm just gonna give you guys just a few updates. I know that I sent out an email last week on the Real ID, and want to make sure you guys have that information because it looks like this time it is not going to be extended. It's been extended many times over the last couple of years, but the information that I got from the Homeland Security and TSA last week is that October 1st of this year is their go live date. So they want to make sure that us in the travel industry have that information, that we're sharing it with our clients, because if they do not have the little star on their ID, they will be denied through TSA. So, in addition to everything that you are advising your clients with the surge of domestic travel still going strong, we want to make sure that we're advising our clients what we need to, what they need for getting through TSA and to board their flights. We don't want anybody to be denied boarding on that. Something else that you may consider doing is putting something in your signature line, just so that it's there if people are seeing emails coming through from you, it's on your signature, or even if you have an out of office, like an auto response. It might not be out of the office, but every email you send, they would then get a automated response then saying that that is coming and to be prepared. You can add that link to the Homeland Security and their website so that people could go on and test more things, look at their state requirements. Most states have adopted this as their standard driver's license as you've renewed your license. But there are still some states that don't. You have to ask for it when you go in and renew. So it would be good. And it's not something that you have to keep track of state by state. I would just advise your clients they need to make sure they've got their updated license with the Real ID.
Hey, Kirsten.
Yeah.
It's Danielle. One thing, after you sent that out, I went and checked, and in Washington State, I have an enhanced driver's license, and that's considered fine for Real ID, but it doesn't come with a star.
Does it have a bear?
No, it just says enhanced driver's license, and it has a pink strip across the top. Okay. So not all of them are going to have the bear, the tree, or the star. So they just want to make sure to double check. And because I think each state, like mine's an enhanced driver's license, that's good enough, and they're not offering something with a star or something like that. I don't know.
Okay.
So just, I have an icon of a tree, but that didn't seem to make any difference. But I just thought I'd throw that out there. So
there's nothing on your license that makes it look different.
Well, yeah, right across the top, the very top of it, it says enhanced driver's license and EDL, okay. And it has like a salmon colored strip across the top. So, and I know I had to show my passport and all that when I renewed it.
Yeah.
So
okay.
It does say it is a form of Real ID.
Okay.
So
yeah, so it is very good to know, because that is something that you guys don't need to be state. That word has completely escaped me. But just so that you have that link to send to your clients, and they can then be the expert of what their state needs and not you. So good feedback, Danielle, that not all states have that star. I don't have anything. Meredith is out this week, and so I do not believe that we have any webinars scheduled. I don't have anything showing on my calendar. If you guys have not seen, Virtuoso's registration is now live for their, I think it's Ready, Set, Go, a new training series or event series that they've got. That would be one that is new this year. They've not done it before, but I think it will be another good one. They've done the, opposed to the regional ones that they've done in the past, or some of their road shows. They're trying to do some different events that will be virtual and get people together. So that was all sent out. It'd be a great one for people to attend. The Virtuoso Air is changing, and they've sent out some notices on that. Internova is now the agency that Virtuoso has outsourced the air contracts to. So we'll get some more information on the Virtuoso Air, but they've been sending out updates on that. It's changed a little bit. So I don't know exactly how it works, but you would be accessing Internova to do any air other than the Virtuoso Air contracts that they still have are net contracts. So commission contracts will be housed with Internova. We did get invitations out to all of you for our Teams chat. So we really recommend that you get on. I'll schedule some trainings on that and how you can navigate in the Teams environment. It's really pretty nice. I am in Teams all the time. I've noticed that several of you have had some conversations going on in Teams already. We're adding more and more content there. Our objective with moving everything into Teams is to get us one place that will have our files, the resource center, and have the ability to chat and network with each other instead of having multiple places for everything. That's feedback we've heard over the years, is that we go to AirPortal for something and we go to Facebook to talk to each other. We go here and there. So we are trying to get that all consolidated into one location. It is the Teams platform, which is where you're coming right now for our team meetings. And then if you did not receive the email that had the invite link, let me know. I have to send that out individually. They're all linked to just your email address, so it's not something you can forward and share with somebody else. It is unique to you. But as we get in and have more people, more conversations, this will replace our Facebook group, as we have a growing number of people that are just not wanting to be in Facebook any longer, or are kind of over Facebook days. So we do want to have a place for you guys to all chat with each other still, and it's an easy place to do that. Another benefit that you have by having Teams is that you do have the ability to do video conferences like this with your clients. So you could use Teams to start a meeting and have a video chat that you could invite your clients to as well.
Hey, Kirsten, this is Danielle. I just put something in our Facebook chat, and but I thought I'd ask you guys, since you're all here. I don't book that much Mexico. And I just got a call from a client. He's wanting to book Mexico and take his 2 kids. When the kids got their passports, they were juveniles under whatever the age. Now they're both going to be 20 and 18 respectively. So they're adults. So can they still travel on juvenile passports? Cheryl's shaking her head. People are shaking their head. That's a no-go. So they have to get adult.
Well, when do the passports expire?
Well, the passports don't expire for a while.
No, the only difference is if you're under 16, it's only good for 5 years, and you have to appear in person with your parents. It's the same passport as anything else. It's just that you have to renew it every 5 years instead of 10.
So it's now that they're no longer juveniles,
it doesn't matter.
They can still travel on this passport as adults?
Absolutely.
I looked all over the internet and I couldn't find anything that said they could still travel on this passport.
But it doesn't say it's a juvenile passport. It is a passport. It is the same valid passport as an adult passport.
It just doesn't have
just that in order to apply for it, you have to be there with both parents, and they only give it for 5 years because kids change so much in appearance. So as long as it's still valid, it's fine.
Yeah. That's okay. Cheryl's nodding her head. Everybody's we're
valid.
in agreement there, it's still okay to use?
Yeah,
Yeah.
absolutely.
The key word being valid passport.
It is. They each have like 2 years left on it, because you're right, they were only issued for 5 years. So each
Yeah,
passport has
right.
2 years left.
Right. And you can't reapply until a year before it's ready to expire anyway. And now the only difference is now they can apply online. They don't have to appear in person.
Got it. Got it. Okay, good. Well, thank you, everybody. I appreciate that. That was not a question I get every day. So thank you. Appreciate it.
Great. Anything else you guys have that you want to discuss or talk about? Rosie, I did see your comment very early in that you're still seeing cancellations and rebookings for travel this year. People don't seem to be quite ready to pull the trigger and travel, similar to what Jan was talking about. It seems to still be a wait and see game. Rebooking for 2022.
I think cruise travel is the worst. I mean, I've had my cancellations canceled now. I had people going the end of September and Scenic, canceled. I think that, I wouldn't count on anybody traveling on a cruise in 21. Maybe the Caribbean in the spring, but it's been pretty.
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
And Colette, so you said your cancellations were for the first part of the year and rebooking for later. Good to see. Anybody have any of their own travel plans coming up? I know, Danielle, you're going to be heading to Hawaii and you'll be hunkered down there for a little while and working from there. And Gigi, I saw that you're heading to Hawaii, I think tomorrow. Our own Terry Kuhn is in Alaska right now. If any of you follow her on Facebook, she's had some amazing pictures that she has posted. Cheryl says having some cancels, some bookings, just because of Europe still closed. Heading to Cabo in May. Taylor and Terry are going to Costa Rica for site inspections. Great. Oh, tomorrow. Very good. Terry, you're on the phone, sitting at Seattle Airport, waiting on a flight to Denver. I've been enjoying watching your pictures on Facebook. It looked like an amazing trip. It's nice to see Alaska off of a cruise ship, a land-based trip, not a cruise trip. I think you had a post to that effect on Facebook, that there's so much more to see in Alaska than just from a cruise ship. Azores coming in May, Taylor. Great. Well, I will not keep you guys any longer. Thank you all for joining in. And again, if you want to start putting those chats into the Teams group, that would be great. There's some different categories that you can select based on what the topic is that you're looking for. And then as you're doing these travels, we would love to have blog posts from you as well. I know Allie loves any kind of content that we can put onto our blog. So thank you all for joining.
And it also goes right back to you. So it helps with your.
I'm with Mike. I don't do blogs. I'll get a blog written.
Not putting you on the spot or anything at all.
You can put me on the spot.
Well, the good news is it does help all of you with some search ability. So that's also a great win for you and your business.
Great. All right. Well, thank you, everybody. It was great to see you. And we will meet again next Monday. Take care.